Hello there, namaste. So this is what Ottomans did to the wives of defeated warriors was worse than death. And I can honestly believe that. I mean, throughout history, war was always most savage to the women and children. And some cultures, some ideologies, just in general, barbarism takes over, but some are more prevalent than others and more barbaric than others. And yeah, let's just check this out.
You're a young mother in 1453 Constantinople. The great walls that have protected your city for over 1,000 years are crumbling under Ottoman cannons. Your husband died defending the ramparts 3 days ago. Now Turkish soldiers are breaking down your door, and you're holding your infant daughter, knowing that what comes next will make his death seem like a blessing. For 6 centuries, the Ottoman Empire conquered territories spanning
Yeah, I mean, there were some cases where people would take their own lives and that of their child, because it is far more gracious to take your own child's life and your own life than to have them suffer under what some barbaric people would do. That's how maddening it is when there are no morals or that ideology where you're far superior than anyone else. Everyone else is just an animal, and you can do whatever you want to them. However, those animals look like people. They're women. You know what? It's absolutely disgusting, absolutely heinous.
3 continents, from the gates of Vienna to the deserts of Yemen. We remember them for architectural marvels like the Blue Mosque, for brilliant military tactics, for sultans who shaped the course of history. But there's another side to Ottoman expansion that historians have largely buried in dusty archives, a systematic approach to conquest that weaponized the most intimate aspects of human existence. Before we continue, if you find this type of forgotten history compelling, consider subscribing and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. It genuinely helps us create more content like this. Now let's examine what really happened when Ottoman forces achieved victory. The moment an Ottoman army broke through enemy defences, a carefully orchestrated process began that had nothing to do with military necessity and everything to do with systematic exploitation. This wasn't chaos or the uncontrolled violence of battle. This was policy implemented with bureaucratic precision across hundreds of conquered cities and towns. When Constantinople finally fell on May 29, 1453, Sultan Mehmed's forces didn't simply loot and withdraw. They implemented what Ottoman military manuals called the harvesting protocol. Contemporary Byzantine chroniclers describe scenes that sound like something from nightmares, but Ottoman records treat these same events as routine administrative procedures.
Yeah, because they're less than human. I mean, even in recent days, it's like convert, die, run, convert, run, die, convert, run, die. That's the chant, because in the end they'll end up taking over everything and eradicating anything from that comes before, and it's just absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
Protocol was ruthlessly efficient. Adult males over 12 were systematically executed, not in the heat of battle, but in organised groups after surrender. This wasn't about eliminating military threats. Boys as young as 6 were also killed if they showed signs of potential resistance. The Ottomans had learned that leaving male survivors, even children, created future problems. But death was reserved for males. Women and young girls faced something far worse.
Because they have no right. They have no say. They're cattle. They're cattle. The men can do whatever they want. Whatever they want.
Ottoman military law, codified in documents that survive in Turkish archives today, established clear procedures for what they termed population processing. Women were immediately separated into categories based on age, physical condition, and perceived value. The sorting happened in public squares, often in front of burning churches or demolished civic buildings, ensuring maximum psychological impact on both victims and any remaining population. Young women between roughly 14 and 25 comprised the most valuable category. Ottoman records from the Constantinople conquest list 4,220 women in this group, each assigned a numerical designation and estimated market value. These weren't abstract statistics. They were human beings reduced to inventory items in ledgers that treated them like livestock. The second category included women between 25 and 40, considered suitable for manual labour but past their prime for other purposes. The third category, women over 40.
Gee, I wonder what purpose they are talking about. I wonder what the people were expecting to get out of the 15 to 25-year-olds. What value could they possibly have? And the fact that that's still the mindset in some areas, the fact that you can see what's going on in certain places in the world when they accept in foreign people, and then, of course, the foreign people who come in are all predominantly male, and for some reason they start acting like it's where they came from, and they're given a slap on, I'm talking about Britain. They're given a slap on the wrist. Oh, you didn't know this was going after a child is not right. It's okay. You're not from here. You can, we'll just give you a warning this time and you can go on your way. It's like, no, this is barbaric. It's always been barbaric. It's always been absolutely disgusting, and it should never, ever be tolerated. I've said, it's just like, if you're going someplace, you should do your best to know where you're going and to have the respect for where you're going. It's that simple. It's that simple. No one should ever have the ability to say, oh, I didn't know, because this kind of mindset is absolutely heinous, absolutely disgusting. And the fact that it's still in play to this day is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane.
Faced immediate execution alongside the men, deemed too old to justify the expense of feeding and transporting. Children presented a special opportunity. Boys under 6 were taken for the Devshirme system, the empire's systematic program of cultural and religious conversion. But girls under 12 entered what Ottoman documents euphemistically called formation programs, designed to prepare them for specific roles within the imperial hierarchy. The psychological warfare embedded in these procedures was as carefully planned as any military campaign. Families were forced to watch the sorting process, mothers seeing daughters assigned to different categories, knowing they would never see them again. The Ottomans understood that this psychological trauma would spread throughout remaining populations, making future resistance less likely. Contemporary accounts describe how Ottoman soldiers...
But how does that make future resistance less likely? I mean, you breed the humanity out of people, you condition them with propaganda because they see everything they do as okay and not completely evil. Taking a life, no matter what, is always evil. The concept of conquering is always seen as, like, what is it? Rulers in a good time, picking a war at the right time, could always be praised by their people, but a bad war at the wrong time is seen as problematic. I mean, look at the world wars. America was a profiteer during those. However, we are praised for taking part in World War II because we were staying out of it until we were attacked. And then we went far and beyond what was even necessary, but that was the only way to stop some of the mindsets that had set in. Sadly, it's absolutely heinous, absolutely barbaric, because a ton of innocent people died. But America was a war profiteer. And then you look at Vietnam, where they just try to pick a side and assist, and the U.S. never actually lost a battle, but they lost the war because the people were unhappy with the war. The people had already lost their taste for bloodshed, which they had in World War II, even though America was war profiteers during World War II and the Great War, First World War. A good war at the right time can see your population and the faith that you have in your people expand. A bad war at the wrong time sees it. But it was just nothing but conquest. Nothing but conquest, nothing but conquest, nothing but conquest. Eventually, some people would see the light of day, just like this is wrong. Why do I feel something when I see these people being butchered after they've surrendered and are begging for their lives? It's just, ugh.
Would deliberately separate mothers from infant children, not for practical reasons, but to maximize emotional distress. Crying babies were often killed immediately, not out of cruelty toward the infants, but to demonstrate complete power over their mothers. The message was clear: resistance meant watching your children die. The scale of what happened in Constantinople provides a template for understanding Ottoman conquest patterns across their empire. Within 48 hours of the city's fall, approximately 50,000 people had been processed through these categories. 12,000 women and girls were loaded onto ships destined for slave markets in Bursa, Ankara, and other Ottoman cities. Another 8,000 were distributed among the conquering army as personal property. But the systematic nature of Ottoman practices becomes truly horrifying when we examine their documentation methods. The empire maintained detailed records because these weren't spontaneous war crimes. They were planned economic activities that required careful accounting.
Well, of course, because it's a product. The conquest and the human beings that they're taking it, they're a product. They're slaves. The same thing happened years later when people started buying and selling slaves. There was a ton of traction for all those. You have to keep the paperwork. You have to know who has the rights to this speaking, walking, talking human being. It's not like an animal that you can put a dog collar on him, and then someone sees a dog collar and goes like, oh, I'm going to call his owner. You can't do that with a human being. They have the ability to take it off. Sure, you could put something on a dog and they could still take it off because they don't like it. But that's why you put a collar on them. It's it's obvious that they didn't think anything of it. Same thing during with slaves. And to this day, there's still slave trade. There are still slaves. And it operates the same exact way. Because you need to know who owns it. And yes, I said it.
Ships' manifests from the period list human cargo alongside silk, spices, and precious metals. A typical entry might read 20 bolts Damascus silk, 40 pounds pepper, 15 females aged 16 to 20 years, excellent condition. The women weren't even granted the dignity of names in these documents.
Of course.
Just ages, physical descriptions, and estimated values.
Well, the thing is the person who purchases gets to choose what they do and gets to give them a name. Because, to be honest, they don't care for the names of like any other faith or any other nation. It has to be their own, so it correlates with them. So that way, when the child grows up, it's in that culture. It's in that. Why does mother have this Christian name? Why does mother have this Hindu name? That's the kind of mindset. You have to take that out so you don't give them a name. You treat them like cattle, and then you give them a name. And of course, the mother never has a say anyway.
The economic infrastructure supporting the system stretched across the entire Ottoman Empire. Specialized markets in major cities had dedicated sections for human trafficking, with established pricing structures that fluctuated based on supply and demand. A young Greek or Serbian woman might command 20 to 30 silver pieces in Istanbul markets, while African women brought different prices depending on their origins and physical characteristics. The Ottomans didn't invent slavery, but they industrialized it in ways that previous empires had never achieved. They created standardized procedures for capture, transport, and sale that operated with the efficiency of modern corporations. Bills of sale, transport receipts, and market inventories survive in Ottoman archives, documenting human misery with the same attention to detail applied to any other commercial enterprise. Perhaps most disturbing.
Yeah, because you have to document like the punishments that you had to dole out on your product. Oh, this box of cabbage had a crack in it, so it might have some seepage. It might have some weather damage, so it might have spoiled. You have to correlate all of that in records. Imagine doing that for a human being. Oh, this product that we were shipping over, where the shipmates got drunk one night and decided to take sport with one of the cargo, with one of our shipments. It's just, think of that. And that stuff would be cataloged in the catalogs. All of that is taken notes, and it's done so with no actual heart. Because to them, they're not human beings. And again, slavery still exists. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't. But the problem is, people still think like this. Still absolutely think like this.
Was how this system created its own momentum. Success in Ottoman military campaigns was measured not just in territory conquered, but in people captured. Commanders received bonuses based on the number and quality of prisoners taken. This created incentives for targeting civilian populations rather than just military forces. The psychological impact on surviving populations was precisely what Ottoman strategists intended. Villages and cities that witnessed these processing procedures often surrendered without resistance, when Ottoman armies...
But that's the thing that makes no sense. Why surrender? The men will get killed. The women get killed, put into processing in slave labor, and then turned into sex trafficking. What there seems like something you want to surrender for? I'm against people putting down their arms to just be like, you know what? I want to live. No. Some lives aren't worth living. You need to fight for your life, for your right to live. And this kind of act where you just put down your arms and like, I want a chance. I want a chance. No. You saw what happened at the other places. You think they're going to give you a chance because you decided not to fight back? The best thing you could do if you don't have the ability, if the men stand up and fight, they lose their lives. The mothers take their child's life and their own life. That sounds absolutely barbaric. Absolutely. But what's better? The child dying in their mother's loving arms, or being used for cattle to breed more soldiers and more cattle, because the women would be put out into the same system that she was in. It is just, what's the better option? What's the better option? Oh, but there's a possibility that they might not have a bad life. How can you get that? How can you get that? How many people actually take their slaves and actually be like, you know what? You're a human being. I'm going to elevate you to a higher post. In fiction?
Appeared on the horizon. The Empire's reputation for systematic brutality became a weapon more effective than cannons or cavalry charges. Women who survived the initial sorting faced journeys to various destinations throughout the Empire, each carrying its own specific horrors. Those destined for slave markets travelled in specially constructed ships with cargo holds designed for human transport. Maritime archaeological evidence reveals ventilation systems, water storage, and waste management designed to keep human cargo alive during weeks-long voyages. The ships were floating prisons, but they were also laboratories for systematic dehumanization. Women were stripped of clothing, names, and any personal possessions that might remind them of their previous lives. They were given numbers and basic garments that marked their status as property. The process was designed to break psychological reach resistance before their final destinations. Ottoman...
This is AI. All these things are AI. Because look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 thumbs. Or fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It would be 6. Wait, is that 7? Yeah. A lot of AI photos. I don't care. He's doing enough detailed analysis and breakdown to justify it. But I'm like, who drew all these? Then I look at the fingers and I'm like, oh, it's AI.
Records indicate mortality rates during transport averaged around 15%, considered acceptable losses by administrators who viewed human cargo through purely economic calculations. Women who died during transport were simply thrown overboard, their deaths recorded in ledgers alongside spoiled grain or damaged goods. The Empire's approach to conquered...
What'd I say?
Women reveals a level of systematic planning that challenges everything we think we know about medieval warfare. This wasn't mindless brutality or cultural misunderstanding. This was deliberate policy implemented across centuries and continents, designed...
Wait. Who thought otherwise? I think the majority of people know what's happening now has been going on from days in memoriam. It just has been the case. People have known how to weaponize and use people's psychological warfare isn't new. It's old. It's been going on forever. And the viewing of women as inferior, again, is old and been going on forever.
To transform human beings into commodities while simultaneously terrorizing entire populations into submission. But the true horror wasn't just in what happened during conquest. It was in what came afterward, when the systematic exploitation of women became the foundation of Ottoman imperial administration. The empire's legal framework transformed rape into marriage, murder into justice, and slavery into divine mandate. Ottoman legal codes preserved in archives across Turkey spell out procedures that legalized every form of sexual violence imaginable. These weren't
Yeah, that's insane. And the fact that that's still kind of what happens. That's still kind of the thing. The thing is a lot of people want this stuff, want crime and things to be legalized. They want to change, like in the state of California. No crime really happens that often because the majority of stuff has become legal. Crime rates go down, even though criminal acts have actually gone up by people's moral stands. Crime rate has gone down. And that's just what happens, because you start seeing things. It's like, oh, this isn't really a bad thing. This isn't really a bad thing. It's okay. It's okay. And then it just trickles down through society. It really does.
Aberrations or violations of law. They were the law. The concept of war wives became central to Ottoman expansion strategy. When a warrior died in battle against Ottoman forces, his widow automatically became property of whoever killed him. This wasn't informal tradition. It was codified legal doctrine with specific procedures for claiming ownership. The claiming process required 3 witnesses and had to occur within 72 hours of the husband's death. After that,
so they literally took the people there to make sure that they officialized these well, heinous acts. I'm not going to say marriages. They're just heinous acts. Because you
window, other warriors could challenge ownership,
nuts,
leading to fights over women-like disputes over livestock. Ottoman military courts maintained detailed records of these ownership battles, treating them as standard property disputes. But legal ownership was just the beginning. The transformation of conquered women into war wives required systematic destruction of their previous identities. Names were changed immediately, often to Turkish versions that bore.
What did I say? What did I say? You have to take it away from them. They have to know that they are not them. Like a lot of things happen when in the situations like this. Like a lot of women will lose themselves. They just do. Their brains, they go a bit mental. They break. They become a little brain broken. That's the only way to normally survive situations like this.
Or no resemblance to their birth names. Religious conversion was mandatory, enforced through procedures that combined psychological torture with religious instruction. The conversion process involved public ceremonies where women were forced to denounce their previous faith, often required to spit on religious symbols or burn sacred texts from their former lives. Those who refused faced escalating punishments designed to break resistance without reducing their market value. The empire maintained conversion centers in major cities, facilities designed specifically for processing conquered women. Archaeological excavations at sites in Bursa and Adrianople have revealed building foundations with specialized chambers, drainage systems, and restraint mechanisms that paint a picture of industrial-scale psychological warfare. These centers operated for decades, processing thousands of women through standardized programs designed to erase cultural memory and replace it with complete subservience. The programs typically lasted 6 months, long enough to ensure pregnancy from systematic rape, creating biological bonds that made escape psychologically impossible. Children born from these forced unions face their own systematic exploitation.
Break. I'm taking a break. That's just a little. I mean, you know. It's just what's going on. And this stuff still goes on. It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. Anyone who views another human being, and that's the thing, it's just like, you have to get them to view a human being as nothing. Every human life has value. If someone breaks into my house and tries to rob me and I shoot them down, I've taken a human life. Sure, they are at fault, but still, I have taken a human life that had value probably at some point. I wouldn't feel really guilt about the fact, but at the same time, it was a human life. The issue is you take that away from people. You start making people look at them and go like, "Oh, this isn't a human. This is just a product." Products, they get old, they get wear out. You have to change your wagon wheel every now and then. Your horse needs to get replaced. Your wife is just the same way. Wife, because that literally isn't probably the word they used. They probably don't have an actual value for what a wife truly is. That's just one of the things. It's just one of the many things. It's just so freaking problematic. Who could possibly look at someone that is their partner in life and go like, "You're not worth as much as me. I'm getting bored of you. I'm going to go get another one." It's like, that's just barbaric. To not actually sit down and talk with them. To not actually work on the relationships. To not actually build something. You have to take out what makes humans human and turn them into monsters. Like I always say, there is no monsters in the world except for humans. We are the most barbaric. We are the most monstrous. We do the most heinous things imaginable. The most heinous things imaginable. Yet we have the ability then to comprehend more than simple animals do. Yet we choose, especially in some cases, to completely ignore all of that. Completely go like, "Oh, that's not important. Morals, not important. I'm a man. What do I need for morals? My wife needs to respect me. She can't talk back to me. She must do this. She must do that. She can't leave the house because I don't want anyone to take her from me. Because out on the streets, it's free game. When you legalize everything, that's the end result." I'll probably finish this tomorrow. I'll probably finish this tomorrow. Oh, this was heavy. This was heavy. Thank y'all for watching. Talk to you next time. Doodles.
You guys got a video? It's so bad.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Wait like that.